Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Crooked Illness. If you are new here, my name is Paris Brinkevich, and I am the creator and host of the Crooked Illness podcast, where we get into all things health related. The primary focus of the podcast is to motivate, inspire, empower, and educate people on these interesting topics related to psychology, mindset, and mental health. My background and passion for starting Crooked Illness stems from the field of psychology. After completing both my BA in psychology and my MBA in administration, my passion for mental health only continued to grow. As a result of this, I decided to start Crooked Illness to bring more awareness, tips, and conversations to the table about these topics. I offer my perspective on the work I've done and how it inspired me to begin this podcast. Along with this perspective, I also speak about my personal experience with mental health and how I use those experiences to help educate, inspire, and motivate others. I really enjoy doing interviews and connecting with people who also love to discuss and learn more about mental health. If you would like to learn more, become a guest, or connect, feel free to reach out to me by shooting me a message on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, or to my email of crookedillness@gmail.com. All right, guys, so we're going to get into this episode. And as you can see from the title, we are going to be talking about why treatment doesn't work so well. And here to help me get into this topic today is my awesome guest, John Giordano. John is an author, certified hypnotherapist, entrepreneur, and expert in the treatment of addiction, and the founder of the National Institute for Holistic Addiction Studies. In addition to this, John has provided counseling and trauma recovery services to law enforcement officers and Iraq and Afghanistan war veterans. He is a state and federal expert witness and also the chaplain of the North Miami Police Department. As a 10th degree black belt and national karate champion, he also trains law enforcement officers and Green Berets in self-defense and negotiation techniques. Mr. Giordano has also contributed to over 73 research papers with his close friend and colleague, Dr. Kenneth Blum, the discoverer of the addiction gene. Their papers have been published in peer-reviewed medical and scientific journals such as Neuropharmacology, the American Journal of Psychiatry, and the Journal of Psychiatry and Neuroscience. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Mr. John Giordano.
Hi, Paris.
Hi.
It's just an honor. It's just an honor to be with a young lady like you that's putting forth this information to help other people that may suffer from depression, anxiety, and other ailments like addiction.
Yes. Well,
I'm also a addictionologist. I'm a traumatologist, not just a hypnotherapist. We talk about why treatment doesn't work as well as we would hope it would. And the reason for that is because we're looking at an old model. The model was based on a Minnesota model and was based primarily on alcoholics. Now, when you got drugs in the mix, what happens is the brain chemistry totally changes and even gets worse. So what that model is a 28-day model, which is not long enough for the brain to even start the healing process in order to understand the information that's being imparted to them. So a lot of times clients for the first 2 or 3 weeks sit in group, they're spaced out, they can't put information together properly. And what happens when the drugs go away and we detox them from the drugs, psychological problems appear, the mental health issues appear.
Yeah.
Because most often what they're doing is they're medicating those illnesses. Now, what we've been looking at and what I've done with, I used to own a 62-bed inpatient drug and alcohol rehabilitation, a dual diagnosed facility, meaning people that have bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, and so forth, also along with addiction, drugs and alcohol. And what we found out, we were one of the leaders in the industry for many, many years. We were a JACO accredited facility, which is the gold standard in treatment centers. And what we did is I brought along Dr. Kenneth Blum, the geneticist who found the addiction gene, and Dr. Stephen Schoenthaler, who is a researcher from Stanislaus University, who did an article on a peer-reviewed journal on how nutrients and proper diet can actually help adolescents with their anger problems and behavioral problems. And it was really very popular.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. We found out he decreased the behaviors, the bad behaviors that these kids were having just by their diet and by nutrients.
Yeah,
so what we looked into.
That's huge, because I know we talked a little bit about, the current treatments for addiction and different things that are available out there. So can you kind of talk a little bit about the current treatments for addiction and why those are so ineffective?
Okay. The problem is it's supposed to be a medical model, and it isn't. It's a psychological model. Now, yes, people have trauma. Yes, they have childhood traumas. Yes, they have all these other things that go on, these adverse behaviors that they created during their journey through addiction. But there's also medical problems they have that co-contribute to this disease.
Yeah.
Or dis-ease. Okay, for instance, a low thyroid can cause depression and anxiety and suicidal ideation. Now, when you take a look at that, all right, most treatment centers don't look at that. So what do? Is the psychiatrist puts them on a medication. Instead of giving them, like Prozac doesn't work for your thyroid. Right? So you need thyroid medication. So that's number one. And then you have what is known as leaky gut syndrome, or H. pylori, which has to do with your microbiome, which is your gut. Now, most people don't know this, but your gut or your microbiome, most of your dopamine and serotonin is manufactured in the gut and goes up the vagus nerve into the brain. Now, dopamine and serotonin are your feel-good drugs. Okay, and that's what addicts search for. They search for increasing dopamine. So when Dr. Blum coined the phrase, instead of saying alcoholism, drug addiction, eating disorder, sexual addiction, we call it RDS, reward deficiency syndrome. That means they do not have enough receptor sites to accept dopamine into their brain. So they try to search for different behaviors and different substances to make them feel better.
Okay.
So that's some of the reasons why treatment's not working very well. We're not looking at mental conditions, like a lot of alcoholics are hypoglycemic.
Yeah.
Okay, well, alcohol is sugar, fermentation. Some of them have brain damage. Well, drugs do damage your brain. No one's going to argue with that. And they have such a thing as called PAWS, post-acute withdrawal syndrome. Now, if you ask most doctors and most clinicians, what do? They say time.
Yeah.
That's because they don't know.
Yeah.
We found out that hyperbaric medicine, oxygen under pressure, becomes a medicine and actually heals the brain.
Wow.
Which is interesting. I was doing that 15 years ago, and now the VA is doing it with hyperbarics.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike. And then amino acid therapy is another thing. That helps with the precursor for neurotransmission. And then a lot of people have what is known as heavy metals, which causes depression, anxiety. It causes attention deficit disorder. It mimics bipolar disorder because when you have heavy metals, it interferes with the transmission of your neurotransmitters.
Yeah. I know you were explaining that to me yesterday, and that's huge. That's really important, because I know a lot of people don't know that, or they've never been exposed to that before, probably because of a lot of the misinformation that's out there. So can you talk a little bit about the misinformation that is out there related to treatment for addiction, and your experiences with that?
Well, one of the reasons why a lot of these things aren't put into treatment centers is because the insurance reimbursements, they don't reimburse that. First of all, the treatment model is broken. What we call detox is not really detox. It's really a stabilization unit. Because if you're going to detox somebody, you take toxins out, don't put other ones in to replace the toxins that are already there. So that's one thing. Secondly, it's only 28 days, but now it's 14 days they're trying to knock it down to. Wow. Okay? It's not enough time to heal. You need at least 90 to 120 days, depending on the severity of the illness. So those are some of the things. Now, the heavy metals, okay, you do it from blood, you can do it from urine, or you can do it from hair.
Okay.
Okay, and heavy metals are in everything. Lipstick, lead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cigarettes, antimony, all kinds of different heavy metals are in cigarettes,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of addicts smoke. And what we found out
Yeah.
that people that smoke cigarettes are more likely to relapse than people who don't.
Mm.
Addiction is addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what the substance or the behavior.
Yeah. No, that's powerful that you just said that you're more likely to relapse if you smoke or if you already have a behavior that is an addictive behavior. And I know you mentioned to me before, you talked about people's lifestyles and how sometimes people's lifestyles can contribute to the problem of treatment being ineffective. So can you kind of get into that and explain to me a little bit about what those lifestyle choices look like and how they're impacting people who are trying to get better, who are trying to get treatment? What does that look like, their lifestyles?
Okay, well, I'm a recovering addict myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming up on 36 years of recovery.
Wow. Yeah.
And, a
Wow.
lot of the things that I talk about, I knew about, but I wasn't paying attention to while I was in the throes of my addiction.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, look at what addicts usually, people, forget about addicts, what people generally eat. Look at the health of this country. Most
Mm-hmm.
people are overweight.
Yeah.
Most people don't exercise. Okay, most people are not connected spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a lot of people are vitamin depleted and protein deficient. And if you don't
Mm-hmm.
drink enough water, they say that your brain kind of shrinks.
Yeah, you told me
Okay, and your
that. You
body
told me.
doesn't
Yeah.
function properly.
Wow.
So, and most people don't eat properly, so their nutrients are deficient.
Mm-hmm.
And when your body's out of homeostasis, it doesn't function right, and neither does your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of the things that these life choices that people make. They don't exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Exercise does a number of things. Okay, number one, it gets rid of stress. Number two, stress depletes dopamine. So if you depleted dopamine already, and now you deplete it even more with stress,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to go looking for something to medicate yourself with to raise that dopamine.
Yeah.
And also, exercise increases dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not anaerobic, not just weightlifting. You have to do aerobics.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do where you're breathing a little heavier.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do it at least 5 to 6 days a week, at least for 45 minutes. Now, you could start off with 10 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and work your way up. You don't have to start off at the top because most people try to do that. They get disgusted and they quit.
Yeah.
You can start off with 1 day a week, 2 days a
Mm-hmm.
week, 3 days a week, and build yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process. It's not an event.
Yeah. No, that is so true, because I know something that you also told me about this before. You said something that really stuck with me the first time I spoke with you. You said, we are walking cash registers for the pharmaceutical companies. So you said that, and I just sat there and I was like, wow. Wow. So that was really powerful. So can you kind of talk a little bit about what that means and just talk a little bit about that?
Well, let's look at our world today.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it's all about money.
Mm-hmm.
And this is sad. Not all people are like that, but a
Yeah.
lot of people are like that. Look, we all need money. I understand that. We all need to make a living. We all need to support our families. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But what's happening is that because of the money, our food supply,
Yeah.
okay, has been really bad.
Mm-hmm.
They're processing food. They're adding chemicals, GMOs to food. I mean, we're eating chemicals. We're no longer eating
Mm-hmm.
food.
Yeah.
That's number one. Look at the cancer rates. Look at all these the diabetes. Look at all these high people with high blood pressure. Look what's going on. So when I say we're walking cash registers for the pharmaceutical companies, well, all they look to do is put a Band-Aid on stuff and
Mm-hmm.
keep us medicated. How
Yeah.
about taking a look at what's causing this
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to put a Band-Aid on it? There's a saying, you could teach somebody, you can feed somebody with fish, or you can teach them how to fish.
Mm-hmm.
People have to learn how to take care of themselves, how to build up their immune systems. Look
Yeah.
at this COVID-19, what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
okay? You have to build up your immune system in order to fight this, not just with drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Everything starts with your body. Your body can heal anything if you have the proper attitude
Mm-hmm.
and you have the proper workout schedule and the proper nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, you won't get sick hardly at all. I'm 70. I'm going to be 74 in August.
No,
All
you're
right.
not. No
I
way.
work out 6 days a week. I don't take any medications. All right. I don't have any of these things. And I got to keep fighting it because as you get older, things break down. So you have to take a look at everything. Money's great. Look, I started my treatment center with $300. I was homeless at one time, living in my karate school dressing room.
Wow.
With no money. All right. And when I got clean and sober, all right, I got divorced and I wound up living in one room that a friend of mine gave me. They didn't have a job. All I did was teach karate a little bit here and there to make a few dollars. And I was broke. And I opened up a treatment center with years later with $300. And in 2012, we sold it for $45 million.
Wow.
Now, if you were to tell me that in the beginning of this journey I'm on, I would have punched you in the face.
Yeah.
Thinking you're making fun of me. All right. So what I'm trying to tell to your listeners out there, never give up. And no matter what, and I only went to the 9th grade and I finally got my GED. And then I got all my different masters in addiction counseling, all these other things. But I did it when I was in recovery. You can do anything. Look at you, yourself. You know, what we were talking about, what you've been through. Here you are, a fine young lady, trying to help people. And you're going to be very successful. Just keep going.
Thank you.
And that's what life's about. Keep going, man. Never give up.
Yeah, and your story was really powerful. I remember when I first spoke with you, and I was reading about you too and doing research, and I heard, you told me that story you just mentioned right there, where you started your center with $300 and then you ended up selling it for $45 million, and you being homeless and all these different things and struggling with addiction and all the things that you went through in your life, and how you ended up turning that and creating something and being able to reach people and lecture people and travel and do all the things that you've done. That is really motivating to me to see that in somebody else. So, if you could just talk a little bit about how did you cope with your addiction, and how did that help you change your path in life going through that?
Let me put it this way. First of all, I like to recognize my partners and my team of people that work for me, because without them, we could have never done any of this.
Yeah.
So it's not John Giordano all alone did this, this was a team effect. And I really love my partners, and I love the people that work for us. And we had 147 employees.
Wow.
And 7 buildings. And we started off with a little place, 750 square feet.
Wow.
I mean, it was like crazy.
Yeah.
But my addiction, I started my addiction when I was I was 20 years old. And I started with acid. And then I went and I graduated, and I kept graduating. And I did it because I was interested in opening my mind and expanding my mind. And, this was the 60s and 70s, and that's what was all going on. But after a while, I thought I was cursed. My family's like a mafia family. My uncle, supposedly, I can't say he did, but supposedly killed the caterer at my wedding because he insulted him in front of the family.
Wow.
My family, my father was a drug dealer, heroin dealer. And people that say, well, my family's this and my family's that. And listen, I don't care where you come from. Like I said, I don't care what education you came from. I was an inner city kid. Okay. It doesn't matter. It's what you do with your life. It matters.
Yeah.
You could succumb to that and just keep going off the deep end. And what happened, the only reason I went to treatment is my family did an intervention on me. Wow. I just told you who my family was. I'm wondering who's doing an intervention on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my brother was a drug dealer. He did the intervention. My other friends were doing all kinds of other crooked stuff. And here they all want me to go to treatment. I thought this was the biggest joke of all.
Wow.
But I went to treatment, and I had a spiritual awakening in treatment, which I call a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
And I turned my life around.
Wow.
And to me, I owe it to God. Now, to me, I used to curse God before this. I didn't want to hear about God. Okay. I went to the meetings. I said, look, I didn't come here to join another religion. But then I found spirituality. And what I did was I found God through an old timer told me, how about G-O-D? Okay, I said, look, man, I know how to spell. He said, no, no, no. Good, orderly direction, John. Could that be your God? I said, absolutely. That was my God for about a year and a half to 2 years. And then I got a God of my understanding. So you never know what life's going to take you.
Yeah.
Here I am. I became a chaplain. I went to a church that I studied and all this for a couple of years. And then I became a priest, actually, in this church.
Wow.
And I said, if my father known that, he would have rolled over in his grave. You know, you work with the police department? What's wrong with you?
Oh, well, that. I'm so thankful, to be able to, not actually sit down with you, virtually sit down with you and, hear your story and hear the things that you've done and worked on and really see, the difference that you've made with your life going from the place that you used to be in to where you are now. And I just think that's really something that's really powerful that people will be able to relate to and connect with and really understand, to see where you've been and the choices you made to get out of that situation and really do all the things that you've done. So, I just wanted to really, thank you for your time today and, testing this whole interview thing out on the Zoom that wasn't, that we got to work.
I'm a little antiquated, I guess, in a way.
I know.
But we worked it out.
Yes, I know. And you are my first interview that I've ever done on Zoom, on video. So you will be my first interview that I'm actually posting on my YouTube channel. And I'm really excited about that because I was really excited to even sit down with you and talk to you about this because I know, from researching you and reading about you that you definitely have a huge passion for the work that you've done. So
I do. Like I said, my son almost died from this. And that was my journey that I'm going to help other people no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
It's about saving God's children. It's not about only money.
Yes. 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 Well, thank you so much, John. And if you guys tell everyone where they can find you, where can they find you if they want to learn more about you?
They can go to holisticaddictioninfo.com and they can see all the different things, the television shows and radio shows and some of my research and all the things that I do, my lectures and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Well, you guys heard him. Go check that out. Check out the work he's done. Check out his other interviews. He's really awesome. So thank you, John, so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. Well, this was great. And I'm excited to post it. All right. Bye, John.
Bye-bye, hon.
Bye.